Okay, so welcome everybody to today's Careers Insight seminar on careers using languages. I'm really pleased to welcome our four speakers today, our panel of speakers. So we have Caoimhe McCarthy, who's the project coordinator with European Movement Ireland. We have Dr. Moira Sweeney, who is a film director and filmmaker, and director of training at Nemeton TV. Then we have Ailbhe Browne, who's a UL graduate. Ailbhe graduated with Law and Irish a couple of years ago, and she's now working as a quality assurance and training officer with the HSE. And then we'll have Nellie Tattersall, who's the project officer with Post-Primary Languages Ireland. Each speaker will speak for about 10 minutes. They'll be sharing slides. I'm recording this session, so it will be available to you afterwards as well. We'll have about 10 minutes at the end for questions and answers. So if you wouldn't mind turning off your cameras and mics while our speakers are presenting, that would be great. You can turn them on at the end. If you have any questions, you can put them into the chat box as well, and we can go from there. But thank you very much. So Caoimhe, we might start with you. So hello everybody, Caoimhe from the European Movement Ireland.
Thank you very much, Patsy. I might just share my screen. Now, and you can all see that there.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. So just to start, just a few sentences about myself. My name is Caoimhe McCarthy. I'm projects coordinator of European Movement Ireland. And I suppose what might make me different to maybe some people on this call or perhaps the other panel speakers is that, well, I did study a language in university. It was English. So just a bit about my own background is I studied English and media studies for my undergrad in Maynooth University. I went on to do primary school teaching, teaching my English in the Middle East. And then I came back, did a master's in international relations, and then went on to do a series of traineeships, one being with the European Parliament Liaison Office in Ireland. And I suppose one thing that I just kind of want to hone home is that for anyone here maybe who hasn't maybe studied a language for as part of their university course, that it's never too late to go back to languages. If you're interested in it, if you're willing to put in the time, there are so many resources, so many institutions out there that offer help and offer accreditation for these kind of things. I suppose myself, I did kind of worry when I knew I really wanted to get into EU affairs that I kind of missed the boat. But just to say that you never have. Language can be a lifelong learning process. And it can just open up so many fantastic opportunities for you, some of them being jobs within the EU, and that's what I'm going to talk to you today about. So just to finish off with my own story, when I came home and realised I really needed to work on my languages to try and get into the kind of EU sphere, what I did was I kind of took a look at what skills I already had. So I had done Irish, I had done French for my leaving cert, I got okay grades, and it was about realising that I wasn't starting from zero, I wasn't starting from scratch. And from there then just kind of putting in the time, putting in the effort, and that's what allowed me to get my traineeship with the European Parliament office in Dublin by using my Irish. And I know we have a few speakers who might touch on the Irish language as well. It is one that is really, really important and is really employable in the EU institutions at the moment, which I'll talk about as well in a minute. So just European Movement Ireland, really the main thing we do is try and communicate what's happening in Europe to the people of Ireland. We do that through media, online, social media, players, publications and things like that. Something that can be very valuable for students, because personally, before I ever worked with European Movement Ireland, I was using this resource weekly. There is a Thursday list that goes out of all the different types of EU jobs, from traineeships to jobs that maybe require a bit more experience. They're released every Thursday. And even if you're still studying, maybe you're not graduating yet, you're not looking for a job yet, it's a really great way to even see what kind of jobs are out there. What could you do maybe after your studies, or what would you like to do? Because with the European institutions, often languages, there are so many jobs that specifically involve language, but as well as that, languages could be a gateway. Maybe you're interested in event management or social media or finance, science. There are so many different areas, and combining that with a language really sets you up and just makes you that much more employable within an international workforce. So just to mention as well that the Irish government really supports Irish people trying to get into the EU institutions. So they've launched a new strategy just last year. And the point is really to note that there is support out there. So the perm rep, if you get an interview maybe for a permanent job with the EU institutions, or if you're interested in kind of securing a job within the institutions, they have assistants out there, interview prep, notes and things like that you can avail of. So it's no harm to get in contact with them either if you are looking for those more contractor or permanent positions. For such a small country, we actually have such a great reputation in the EU, and we are well represented. But one of the issues is that a lot of people who represent Ireland in the EU institutions at the moment are retiring or heading towards retirement age. So there is a push to try get younger people, graduates, into the system so that we can kind of maintain our voice at the table and that Ireland is equally represented. Something, although we're speaking about additional languages that we have, something to really remember is that we are one of two member states in the European Union where English is our mother tongue, and that is so valuable. So if you combine that with whether it's Spanish, whether it's French, German, it's really sought after, and it's a really good combination of skills to have. For example, if you want to work in speech writing, if you want to work for an MEP, you know, social media might need to be written in English, or speeches might need to be written in English. But to do that, you may need a second language for that communication. So it's important to remember that English is a valuable language as well as our other ones. Foreign languages do remain a challenge with Irish people. It's something that kind of, it's been there for a while, but it's something we're starting to kind of get over and learn that they are valuable. They're not impossible to learn at all by any means. And it's just that we hone into that and really appreciate the value of having our languages and what opportunities they can present. So this one page is actually is quite relevant and quite interesting. So I've taken the bones of it from the link that I've placed there just at the bottom. So this will be shared around after, so you don't need to go writing down the URL, but there's a page on the European EPSO website, and it really goes into all the language opportunities that are out there. So conference interpreter is one. I know this can be quite a specific skill, and there is a qualification that is necessary if you are kind of going to go for the permanent positions in conference interpreting. I think there's a qualification in Galway University that is needed for certain parts of this job, but there are also freelance opportunities as well, so it's definitely worth looking into. There are other ones: lawyer linguist, translator, proofreader/language editor. On the website, there's a lot more detail about each individual one and what standard, how many languages you need and to what standard. So for the majority of them here, it's 3. So your mother tongue and 2 additional EU languages. For, I think it's proofreader, you may only need your mother tongue and another EU language. But there is more detail that I don't have time to go into now. There are different, it's flexible in a way because you can go into these positions through a traineeship, through a temporary contract position, or through permanent positions, depending, of course, on your level of experience as well. And just to briefly go through a few traineeships. So traineeships are an excellent way to kind of get your foot in the door within the EU institutions. I've highlighted this one here, and the application is in August. And it seems like a far while away, but if you look at the bottom, you'll see that some of the qualifications that are needed, your second language needs to be at B2 level. And what I will say to anyone for this, and the next one I'm going to show as well, if you're kind of unsure if your language is at a B2 level, your second language, you have until the application date to make sure your language is at that level. So it's a great kind of motivator to really focus you on your studies, to really go that extra mile with your reading, your writing. They can involve interviews depending on the traineeship you're going for. So I would never suggest misleading an interviewer, or you know, if you're not at B2 level, or whether it's C2 level, C1, whatever they're looking for, you know, you can't put it down. There will be interviews, there may be tests. But if you're kind of in between levels on applications, and you know the application date isn't for another maybe 4 or 5, 6 months, you use that time to try and up your level and give yourself that advantage. And just, it's a great way to motivate you to try and get there. So the Blue Book traineeship is one that is very popular. They take around 15 interns every year. Same with this one here is the European Parliament internship that I did. Again, loads of different areas with your language. So whether it's law, whether it's translation, finance. I did mine with DG Comms, which is just an EU jargon way of saying communications. Again, you can use the time. This one is, the application's not open till June, so it can be useful. There's other opportunities with MEPs, and what I'd say is someone who has English maybe and another language, you can be so valuable to an MEP, because you could look to the Irish MEPs for a job, but as well perhaps there is a Spanish MEP recruiting for a trainee, and you have Spanish and you have English. You are really highly sought after, because they might need emails might come in through English, again, policy speeches, and they need someone to translate that, but also help them with the other side of things. So very employable as well. Another one there for law, I'll just leave it up in the slides. I won't go through it, just so that if you want to go back, the slide is there. And just to mention, there are loads of other institutions as well. So there are agencies, there are NGOs, trade bodies, loads of different organisations within Brussels, within the sphere, that can give you that experience. For example, European Movement Ireland, we are an NGO. So I don't currently work for the Parliament, for the Commission, but I work with them, or my team works with them almost daily, whether that's the Department of Foreign Affairs, whether that's different agencies in Brussels. So it's a really great way if you want to get up your experience, make those connections. Maybe the application date isn't close enough for the traineeships, or maybe you didn't get into the traineeship you wanted. There are so many alternative routes as well. And I'll just mention that there are loads of opportunities with Irish. And this is the last thing I'll really say, is that Irish this year, apologies, has got the status of a full working language. And that is just, it's absolutely fantastic for the language. And what it means is that there's a lot more translation now needed. So if you think of the population of Ireland compared to the EU, and then think of the population within Ireland who have that really high level of Irish, you know, have a really excellent grammar, who have really honed in on the language. Anyone who has that ability is really highly sought after. There's great terms, great conditions, very good pay, and it's really in demand at the moment. And that can be a way in if it's not maybe what you want to do forever, but it can be a great learning experience, and a fantastic job as well in itself, and loads of progression available as well. Again, language assistants, administrators, proofreaders, loads of different opportunities available within the language. There are other slides that I won't go into now on this presentation about temporary positions and permanent positions, who are for people with that bit more experience. But the slides, as I say, will be there if you do have interest in going through them. More information is available on our website. And again, we'll be here for questions at the end as well. So thank you, Patsy.
Thanks very much, Eva. So, Moira. Dr. Moira Sweeney will present next. Moira is the Director of Training at Nemeton TV, and she's also a filmmaker. So thank you, Moira.
Thanks very much, Patsy. That was great listening to the last speaker. Thank you very much, Caoimhe. So as Patsy said, I'm a filmmaker and I'm also an educator. My background is I worked in RTE for many years in the Irish language section and in the documentary section. So I worked bilingually most of the time. You find with Irish language TV that you're working bilingually because sometimes you just cannot fill the gaps with English or with Irish speakers. And then I moved into freelance and I started working for people like Nemeton TV, who are based in Gaeltacht, Malaysia. I've worked for BBC, TG Cahir, Channel 4, and all sorts, bilingual English and Irish language. So specifically, I'm just going to talk about Irish language, or bilingual really, because that is much more in use today. And I'll just go into the slide share. Now, this might take one moment, so. Okay, you can confirm with me if that's come up. Oh, there, I see, because we practiced earlier. Not 100% sure. Okay.
I'll let you know if it appears, Moira.
You can confirm with me that that's okay. Unfortunately, it's loading it again. Sorry about that. So I can see what's happening. So I'll just keep talking while it's loading it. Sure, who knows? We might end up doing the whole thing without a PowerPoint. I actually uploaded a few films into it, which is possibly why that's happening. Yeah, so I'm sorry if that's distracting in the background. I don't know what you see, but I see lots of flashing lights.
We can just see you, Moira. So that's
okay. That's fine. Okay, so while that's uploading, then that's grand. Okay. So yeah, so I'll just talk away. Yeah, anyway, like as I said, I'm a producer director, so that makes me a good educator. And one of the things about Nemeton TV here and the training course that we have here is that everybody who works here who works in the training is actually a professional. Many of them came through the training course that we run here. It's bilingually run and it's supported by Údarás na Gaeltachta, and it's accredited with Waterford Institute of Technology. So we are all in the business. And that means we've got that kind of really strong link with what's needed today and what we need to offer to the students. So we basically produce graduates who've got the required skills for the television and media industries, and we reflect all of the industry changes and the ongoing demand for multi-skilled digital producers in TV, film, radio and media today. So what we try to do is we actually bring into the industry people who can edit, direct, use camera, sound, produce, so that they're competent and confident, and they spend that 7 months here within a production company environment so that they can become confident. Most people who come on the course don't have any media experience already. They have to have a level of fluency in Irish. You don't have to be fluent, you don't have, and insofar as a degree, but you have to have a level of fluency. Most people are fluent, but the people who have obviously studied it to leaving cert, who need some support, will get that support, and by the time they're finished, they're very, very comfortable. I'm just going to come back to see here. Oh, it's still uploading. Grand. Okay. So one of the good things about Irish language TV at the moment, and film, and the media, as in social media at the moment, is that there's a big demand. There's a noteworthy demand within the audiovisual industry, and apart from the fact that we've actually trained about nearly 200 graduates who, most of whom got jobs when they left, and not all who've stayed in the industry. Sometimes people leave and move on to something else after 10 or 15 years, but most people do actually stay once they get into it. They stay as directors, as producers, as editors, and so I'd say most of you now at this stage have heard about Colleen Kuhn. Wave a hand if you've heard about it, or if you've actually managed to see it. But that's the most recent film that was produced and directed through the Cine Cahir scheme on Teaching Cahir, and it won almost all of the prizes at the Irish Film and Television Academy recently. It beat Belfast, beat numerous other films. So it's in Irish, it's through the Irish language. I mean, obviously there's some English language in it, and it shows that there's a real appetite in the cinema and on the television for feature-length film in Irish. But more than that, actually, there's a constant and solid need and desire for Irish language documentary and feature series. So we're actually particularly good at training people in documentary and short drama, but the documentary side of things, it's endless. It's absolutely endless across all Teaching Cahir, BBC, and RTE. And also in social media, like there are short form outlets that come through Teaching Cahir, like Block and Mullishgale, and these schemes really want competent, confident young people who can write and direct their own content, whether in short form or much longer form as a documentary, or longer again as a drama. So so there, I would say it's absolutely vibrant. It's probably not been this vibrant since like the kind of mid to late 90s, the Irish language scene for TV and media and film. I've just, it's in the slideshow, so unfortunately you can't see that yet because it's still uploading it. But I'm just an example of some of the really good jobs that students that we've brought through in the last few years have. So Kevin O'Grady is Kevin O'Grady. He's a floor manager on Ross na Rún. Oisín Mistel has been producing and directing in Connemara with 2 different production companies. And he started in Ross na Rún as well. Edel Fox and Rebecca Spear are producing and directing in Tyrone Productions, who made Riverdance, and so they produce and direct documentaries through the Irish language and bilingually. Those are just a few of, just to give you the kind of example of outlets that there are. One of the things that we try to do within the course is we encourage people to make work that's actually accessible and within their skill base, so that they don't, kind of half kill themselves trying to be something they're not at this stage, so that they can use that when they go to show off their show reel to the different production companies around the country and the TV stations for that matter. Again, like I say, it's vibrant, and a lovely thing happened this week. John Foley, who did our course 3 years ago, and he completed a fantastic documentary that was based on has that come through? No. A fantastic documentary based on local history, and he had reconstructions and local historians in Irish and in English, and beautiful shots of the Cumara Mountains around here. And that won the Student Media Awards, and it went out on Teaching Cahir, and he's been able to stay in the industry since. So this year, he was this weekend just past, he was able to employ a number of our students here to work as sound people and camera assistants. So there's a lovely kind of full circle there, where people who've done our course are able to go out into the industry and then bring our students in, and they know what the students need at this stage after they're in their second term at the moment. It's a 2-term course, 6-7 months. So they know what they need. John had a really good sense of what the students where they were at, and what he could pitch, what he offered to them as paid work experience. So you can see the slideshow now, can you? Yeah, well, a little bit late because I'm nearly finished, but that's okay. So it's our diploma is na Halina Ilero Telefisha agus na Mian here, and I'm going to just do a little. I'll go on to this slide here rather than hopefully. There we go. I'm just going to play you a promo from the course.
Wiltus a rig do harm beha últach I delefish news na mian hidgetach. Beidir mar stjórahor, nu lerahor, agarhor, nu mar chamrador. Bí cinnte íirtis a dhéanamh inis.
I'm actually going to skip through slides so that we can, we don't go over time here. So Deglon de Puer is one of the lecturers on the course, and he did the course himself about 15 years ago, and he's got a number of really significant credits at this stage, including Lake Regale, Class Act, Immel. He does Shal Ladahi, he does the Today Show at the moment, he does all the outside broadcasts of GAA at the weekends, and he says here, Brahamker Tustok Reche, who made Jerkasjaks Samyan. So he's saying that, he thinks that he feels that it's a great start, and he was able to go straight into the industry. Another of our former students, Rosie Browne, she made a lovely, funny little animation when she was on the course, and she moved into being doing online campaigns, social media campaigns, and in-house production. And she really just acknowledges here that that's the practical side of the course that really allows you to go into the industry. I'm just going to show you, I mentioned to you Kevin O'Grady, that's a picture of him there with an Xbox. He won the Block Award, the Block Student Media Award last year for a short that he made when he was on the course. And it was a very funny little film about how you can become overtaken by violence when you're playing games with strangers on Xbox. Anyway, Block liked that, the Block scheme in TG4, and he did really well. He won €500 for it actually, but he's now working full time on Rosnaroon as a production manager or as a floor manager, which he loves and it really suits him. He had a nice outgoing personality. So I think I mentioned to you John Foley, who he won the Student Media Awards 2 years ago also, and he's just employed some of our students. I'm just going to show you the film that he made when he was on the course.
Ailbhe Browne made a night gets a fair hand. Vi cogan a searsha, the gairy on a horror, agus gan trua, nu gan trokra. Hosnig an daw have a band deal to some matter a hele gominnig. Hoshgale one on Amson, Bonaha air on RIC. Fair McCarthy a vian. Ach, visha some odd kneecart. Ag an own kneecart, agus a gaffa, son a tridna.
And I'm actually just going to come out of the, I'll show you the last slide, and then I'm going to come out of the screen share for the last minute or two. Here are our details. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Follow us, Trianoil Nemeton. That's all you need to look for. You can get in touch with me at Trianoil@Nemeton. WMIT, you can go straight into that website and look for television production, and you'll find our course. And also I'll share this slide with Patsy, she can give it to you. So I'm just going to come out of the slideshow if I know how to stop presenting. Yeah, great. And just to finally say that, aside from the course, which is a lovely thing that I've been able to do, I work part-time running the course, but I also am still in the industry, and I'm constantly asked to produce and direct, and even production manage Irish language and bilingual productions. And I'm really acutely aware at the moment that there is so much space for people with Irish, and you do not need to be like first class honours Irish language fluency to work in the Irish language if you want to direct and edit. You do if you want to produce, but or if you want to be involved in any kind of interpretation there, or transcribing or whatever. But a lot of the creative side of the industry just needs you to be comfortable and confident in your fluency with the language, and it will grow with practice. I was very out of practice when I started in this industry 25 years ago, and now I'm fluent with practice. So if you love creativity, and if you love film and television, and if you feel that you've got some way to contribute with your voice to this society, do not let your lack of an honours, first class, etc. get in the way. It's amazing when you start using the language, how much it comes back, how quickly you become fluent, and how quickly you can contribute very, very valuably. So I always say that to people, and I'm saying that now because there's such a big big opening in the industry with a number of schemes all over the Ireland. And that's not just the television broadcasters, that's the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland, that Northern Irish Irish Language Broadcasting Fund. There are so many ways. There's a scheme that T.G. Carr run with the Arts Council for Irish language documentaries. So many ways to come into this industry. Do not let your fear that you are not whatever Sean O'Reilly put you off. And I'll give you that last slide in particular, but obviously people will have this recording if they want to get the details. So thanks.
Thanks very much, Moira. That sounds so interesting. If I could go back 20 years, that's what I would be doing. Improving my Irish and working in the TV media sector in Ireland, definitely. So thank you, Moira. So next, I think we're going to go to Nellie next, actually. Ailbhe, I'll leave you until the end. So you can talk about what you've done since you graduated from UL. But Nellie, I think we might ask you to talk next about opportunities across the world for students and graduates with languages. So thank you, Nellie.
Sorry. Sorry, I'm having the same problem as Moira there. It popped up before and it's not popping up now. Sorry, just a second. Sorry, PP Live presentations, audience, and where's the PowerPoint amended? More, not to worry.
I think Nellie has frozen there.
And I think I've frozen.
No, you're okay. You're back, Nellie. Okay.
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh dear.
Do you know what, Nellie?
No, I turned off the camera
because I have your slides and I can upload them into the chat box afterwards as well. If it's taken a while to upload. Yeah. Okay.
I will I'll just talk because I'm not sure. It worked perfectly a few minutes ago, but it's not working now. So my name is Nellie. I work for post-primary language. Kind of background briefly, I did do languages myself. So I did German and Czech. I worked as a teacher at one point. I trained as a teacher, worked in Austrian, so the Austrian Chamber of Commerce in Ireland. So my background is languages, and everybody that works in post-primary languages Ireland also has a languages background. So we very much we practice what we preach. So post-primary languages Ireland is it's a unit of the Department of Education, so we're fully funded by the Department of Education. And as Caoimhe said earlier, the government do know that languages are really important. So there was a strategy for foreign languages introduced in 2017. It's a 10-year strategy, and basically it's to promote languages, and it's to promote it kind of across the board. So primary, secondary, third level, and to employers to make sure that they understand the value of it as well. So there's a strategy called Languages Connect, and there's also an awareness campaign called Languages Connect. So the kind of, I suppose PPLI is kind of one of the major stakeholders in promoting that, in promoting the strategy and the awareness campaign. So to summarise, Languages Connect builds awareness of the benefits of foreign language skills. So I suppose I was kind of thinking now, you will have this presentation at the very end, but Patsy's going to share it with you. I was thinking for myself, you know, if you're studying languages, whether you're studying combination with something else, or whether you're studying in combination with something else or on its own, you know, what are you kind of thinking towards the end of your degree? Now, there's lots of different options, even when you have graduated. You don't have to get, you know, your you know, your final job now this minute as soon as you graduate. There's lots of scholarships out there, there's lots of opportunities out there, there's lots of different things that you can go and do for a year or two before you actually kind of settle down and find a job. So one of them is the JET program. So I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program.
Really? It's up on the screen now.
Oh, it's up on the screen now. Brilliant.
Loaded. Yeah.
Very good. Would you be able to go on to the number 4, so the JET program? Okay. If not, that's not a problem. So the JET program is, you don't have to have a word of Japanese in order to get involved in the JET program. You need to have an interest in Japan, but you don't have to speak any of the language at all whatsoever. There's a lot of, I know a lot of people kind of think to themselves, you know, would teaching be for me? I've done languages, teaching might be for me. I was involved in the interview panel for the JET program recently, and there was quite a few people that were kind of thinking to themselves, you know, is teaching for me? Do you know what? I'll go to Japan. I'll be in a classroom setup, and I'll experience what it's like to be in a classroom and to be a teacher, and I'll see if it's for me. And if it is, great, I'll come back and do the teaching qualification. And if it isn't, do you know what? I'll have had a couple of years of working in Japan, which is kind of an amazing experience. So there's then the other things, we've done a bit of work with EIL as well. So EIL Explore, they fund overseas intercultural learning adventures which challenge participants to become global citizens. So they have kind of, they do scholarships and programs and stuff for kind of second level, but they also do for undergraduates as well. So there's 4, sorry. There's an access program, there's a global awareness program, a mature program in Mexico. Now these all have scholarships, like fully funded scholarships. So there was a recently selected winner for global awareness program as an undergrad at UL off to Mexico this summer. So there's opportunities there for when you're still a student, and there's opportunities when you're once you've visited as well. Now I know Caoimhe was talking a lot about your opportunities for scholarships. If you are interested in that, is in the kind of EU, is there's College of Europe, so I won't talk about it, but it is there. There's scholarships there. So there's scholarships for postgraduates, there's scholarships for working, there's scholarships for going off to adventure. So you don't have to necessarily get going with your job immediately as soon as you graduate. So I've kind of thrown in a fact there. When we've done research, we found that 25% of employers are looking, this is across the board. I suppose PPLI or Languages Connect don't come at it from any one particular sector. They very much try and cover everything. So there's 25% of employers have career opportunities for people with foreign language skills. That's a lot. That's 1 in 4 companies are looking for people with language skills. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be using language skills, you know, on a daily basis. But there's lots of companies that want people that have the experience that comes with learning a language. You know, they've worked abroad, they've seen how things work abroad, they're, you know, open to job shadowing, they're open to, there's an awful lot of things that come with languages, and employers do understand that. So that can be a mixture of foreign employers and Irish employers. So we have a website, Languages Connect. So we don't just have a website, we have obviously all the social media that goes with that. So we have Twitter and Instagram and everything that goes with it. There's different sections. Now the Languages Connect does cover an awful lot. You know, there's primary, there's secondary, there's third level, but there's also the work section as well. So we have loads of different videos on the website that show you all the different sorts of careers that languages can, you know, that you can get involved with. So we kind of, you know, listed things that, you know, politician, engineer, chef, entrepreneur, solicitor, banker. There's all sorts of different things that you wouldn't necessarily associate with languages. So we have clips of all of those examples on the website. So I would recommend to have a quick look at the website. I've given here the France-Ireland Chamber of Commerce, just to give you a snapshot. There's lots and lots of foreign companies in Ireland, and all of those foreign companies, they employ people with language skills. We're not talking, so for example, there's BNP Paribas there. It's not a tiny little office in Dublin. It's a huge big office. They employ tons and tons of people, and everyone who walks through those doors in the morning has to be able to speak French as well as English. So there's an awful lot of opportunities there for people. The other one that I want to give a quote from, there's a German-Irish Chamber of Industry and Commerce as well. It's been around for a very long time. Ralph Lisek is the poor man's blue in the face telling the Department of Education that there are more people with language skills needed. There really are. So the quote I have from him is, "We're a membership organisation, and our members and business partners in Ireland, such as SAP or Arvato Bertelsmann or other multinational companies like Google, Hertz and PayPal, they are always looking for bilingual speakers to employ. This isn't an occasional thing. They are constantly looking for people." And Google, you know, I'm going to give Google as an example. They actually pinched one of our colleagues because all of our colleagues speak languages, and they can be, you know, they can be really good jobs, and they, you know, they can be very well paid. And people sometimes assume that kind of, you know, languages doesn't necessarily mean well paid. There are very well paid language jobs out there. So I suppose I know it's 11 minutes past. There's foreign companies out there that are looking for people with language skills, and there are Irish companies out there looking for language skills. And just bear in mind that you don't need to find a job necessarily immediately. You know, you can go off and you know, find your feet and experience different things in different parts of the world before you kind of come back and settle down to kind of looking for a job and finding what the next thing is. And Patsy, I'm just over my 10 minutes, so I'm sorry about that, but back to you.
Thank you, Nellie. That was fantastic. A fantastic overview of all the opportunities that are out there and the opportunity to travel. I think I've been speaking to a lot of UL final years in the last couple of months. Everyone I've been speaking to, they want to get out of Ireland. They've had enough of being locked up through the pandemic, so they want to travel. So it sounds like there's some fantastic opportunities out there, as you said, if you want to travel for a little bit before you actually settle in to finding a career for yourself. So thank you very much, Nellie. So Nellie, do you want to stop sharing? And Ailbhe, if you're there.
Yeah, hi everyone, how are you all?
So Ailbhe is a graduate of UL. Ailbhe studied law with Irish. I know there's a big focus on Irish today, everyone, but anyway, Ailbhe has taken, an interesting career path to date. So Ailbhe, if you want to present now for the final 10 minutes, that would be great.
Thank you very much, Patsy. My camera isn't working for some reason, so I will throw up a bit of a presentation so you're not staring at darkness.
Okay. Nellie, can you take your slides down? Oh yeah, great. Ailbhe's here. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Hi everyone. I graduated from UL from Law Plus in 2019. I did Law Plus and Irish, and I went straight into a master's in NUIG in public law. So I went away from my Irish roots. I grew up speaking Irish and went to school in the Gaeltacht. I'm not from a Gaeltacht, but all my family would speak Irish. So I kind of stepped away from it and headed towards public law, thinking I was going to go down one career path. And I graduated in the pandemic, and I was fully sure I was going to go to Brussels and start working, or maybe even go down the routes of doing my FE1s and becoming a solicitor. But I ended up graduating during the pandemic in 2020 from my master's, and kind of fell into a job that I told myself would be for a couple of weeks, and it ended up being nearly a year and a half. And that was a call center job, but I was actually working administratively, so it was a little bit different. And my Irish and my law helped me a huge amount in that job. And it's funny, and I think my takeaway from my careers or my career to date is that a few of my positions have actually been Irish, in terms of they actually have had the word Irish in the title. A lot of my jobs I've kind of gotten and then highlighted my Irish skills, and as a result I've gotten other opportunities within those jobs. So that's what happened with that job that I got back in 2020. I kind of, between my law and my language skills, fell into another role and then another role and then another role. And then back in December I applied for a job within the HSE. And yet again, nowhere in my title does it say Irish. However, I started working in February, which was a short time after the Official Languages Act was amended in 2021, and that has, that means huge things for the public sector in terms of Irish. So even though Irish isn't in my job title, it's a huge part of my current job. So I'll get into that a little bit later. So my first point is co-op opportunities. When I was doing my co-op, applying, so I was in second year in UL. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to do anything in a law office. I knew that much at the time. So I started looking at jobs that I could combine my Irish skills, my interests, and my law. And I found a private company who were looking for a translator to work for a couple of months remotely during the summer. So that was my first co-op job. So I did 4 months for this company, and I translated, basically they were trying to sell their schools programs to Gael Scoilne, and they needed someone to translate that. So they basically just needed someone to do it for a couple of months so they could then start selling it and promoting it and marketing it. So that was my first part of my co-op job. I did it in 2 parts. The co-op office did not like me, guys, at all. My second part was then I had the opportunity to work in the European Parliament for an Irish MEP who has a Gaeltacht in their constituency. So again, it was something that not in my job title, but my everyday really, I suppose, involved Irish quite a bit. Like you were saying earlier, it is huge in the Parliament. At the time, Irish wasn't an official working language, but they were taking steps, towards that. So I could see the demand already, and that was back in 2016 maybe. So it was quite a while ago. So I could see that already. So I can only imagine now that the opportunities for Irish are huge in the EU at the moment. So a lot of my job there was through Irish with social media posts, but also being an option for any constituent within the Gaeltacht area who wanted to talk to Irish, speak it through Irish, to their MEP or to their MEP's intern, which was myself. So I was using it on social media, but also in events, and speaking to constituents on the phone or email and discussing things with them. So I fell into that, and my Irish certainly helped while I was in there. So then my postgraduate opportunities. So when I started in the call center, I was on the phones just speaking in English for a couple of weeks, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And I ended up kind of falling into another opportunity by talking my way into the potential role. I mentioned my Irish and my law, and I ended up working. So my client at the time, I was working for a private company. My client was the HSE. So I ended up actually helping to draft letters in Irish. So that was using both my combination of my legal skills and my Irish, which was great. To be honest, it was my ideal because it uses everything I learn and my day-to-day skills, and it puts it into something that isn't strictly a traditional legal role. But my current job, I suppose, is probably the most interesting. I'm a quality assurance and training officer with the HSE. So I work for HSE Life, which is the communications division of the HSE. In particular, I'm on the COVID and vaccine lines. So I and my team help ensure the quality across the COVID and vaccination communications. But a massive part of that is we have Irish speakers, and my team prior to myself had no Irish speaker. So we have vaccination and COVID agents who are taking calls through Irish, and we also have Irish on our general lines too. So if you're looking for maybe information in relation to the Fair Deal scheme, or anything from like your local environment phone number. It's such a wide range. We have Irish speakers on those lines, and prior to me, there was no quality assurance being done, and no ability to kind of train them or upskill them because there was no one with that language. So my job is at the moment, we're taking baby steps. That's the other part I want to talk about. The reason we're taking baby steps is a lot of what we're doing at the moment within the HSE in Irish is new, because that Official Languages Act, well, it was the amendment in 2021, it was brought in the 22nd of December. And what that act is, it's a range of things for languages, but in particular for Irish, some of the things that are stipulated within that is for an aim for by 2030, 20% of new recruits to the public sector have to be proficient in Irish. There's also a requirement for all marketing by the public sectors. Any marketing that they publish has to be through the medium of Irish. Also, you have to have any application forms that the public sector are doing across all parts there has to be an Irish option from now on, and also even logos and titles, there has to be an Irish translation. So there's a huge wide range of jobs upcoming in the public sector now, because this time last year someone working in my role wouldn't have had to do what I'm doing now, and now because of that amendment they're going to have to start pushing for it. So there are a lot of jobs within the public sector like mine that mightn't actually be Irish translator or interpreter. They mightn't have that in the title. They mightn't even have a word of Irish in the title, but there are loads of opportunities out there to use your Irish, and I suppose as well to upskill within your role because of your Irish in the public sector from now onwards. And that act is certainly going to help it, because it's a real shove for all of them to actually start, I suppose, offering it a bit more. Even something as simple as the phone lines, the Irish agents actually do get paid more because of their skills, and we only have a small amount of them, but we're going to need more, and there is demand for them. So it's something as simple as that there's going to be more and more demand for them. I'm not going to speak about the European Union because that's already been very covered, but I think my big takeaway is there are opportunities within jobs that mightn't necessarily have the word Irish in them, and I would always in all of my interviews mention my Irish language skills, because I do think it is important. And my current role I've kind of, in a way, I suppose, made my own because of that. Timing was fantastic. Now the public sector have to have these things on offer, but I have made my current role kind of my own in the past month and a half because of my Irish language skills. So yeah, I think that was very short, guys. So that's all I have to say, because I am only graduated a while, so I don't have a huge amount of experience, but if you do have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Ailbhe. And as you said, you're so early in your career yet, but it's great to have, to have you here to talk about your experience as well. So thank you. Thank you very much to our presenters. Does anybody have any questions? You can use the chat box, or you can turn your camera and mic on.
Excuse me, hi, I have a quick question for Caoimhe. Would you be able to tell me what the name of the website is that releases or that advertises the traineeships on Thursdays?
Yes, so it's our own website. So it's European Movement Ireland. I'll put it in the chat box here. You can subscribe to it. So I actually do them myself. And because I know what it's like to be literally on my phone on a Thursday waiting for that list to come in to see what can I apply for next, I know it can be important to a lot of people. So I do try find what opportunities we can and in different areas as well. So there might be some IT opportunities, or there might be some communications opportunities. So it's varied. Every week is different. If you do something specific, maybe with science or with agriculture or something, we do try and put those in, but they just mightn't be every week. So do check back, but I'll just pop it in the chat box now.
Thank you, Caoimhe. Any other questions before we finish? It's 1:25. So we've got a couple of minutes left in case anybody has anything else they want to find out about. And I will upload some of the slides into the chat box after this so you can access them, and the recording will also be available in the chat section. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any questions. So I just want to say thank you to Caoimhe, Moira, Nellie and Ailbhe. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. And to those of you who were at the presentation, the very best of luck in your careers. As you can see, there is such a huge range of careers out there. Teaching is the obvious one, but as you can see, there are lots of opportunities within the public sector, private sector, in the media. So very best of luck, and thank you again to our speakers for today's presentations. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Patsy.
Thanks, Patsy. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for inviting us.